Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a quick new League of Legends video. So for this one, I wanted to go over a pretty much a rework happening to Kindred. Now, Kindred is a champion that's been honestly one of the cooler champions released back when they, I guess, were released. And this champion was very strong for several patches, then sort of fell off, hasn't really seen much light since. And I mean, Kindred has just simply not really been a top tier jungle champion for a very long time, right? Because it's a unique champion. It's pretty much, to my understanding, the only actual marksman jungle champion, like a marksman champion that's literally designed for the jungle. But it seems that Kindred has not really been seeing the best of times lately. So Riot is going to be essentially reworking them. And I have to say, the rework is actually pretty cool. It kind of gives you the more proper feel of what Kindred should be, you know? So let's go quickly read over exactly what, their intention is, and then obviously the rework itself and what they actually have done or are doing. So overall goals: increase satisfaction on Kindred's basic abilities, increase Kindred's ability to kite and deal damage like a marksman, particularly in the late game. Okay, so they want to essentially buff Kindred's early game and late game, but nerf mid game. That's what their kind of like main goal is, right? I like it, by the way, when you guys see the E ability, it's pretty cool. I actually like it. I think it makes a lot more sense to the nature of the champion. It's really cool. Anyway, the guiding and general thoughts. So we originally intended Kindred to be a champion that a team could rely on to bring a marksman-like carry to their late game without having to run one in lane, right? AKA the jungle. Ultimately, this has not panned out exactly as intended. Thus, we are moving their kit a bit more towards this direction in an attempt to better fulfill this design intent. Current Kindred players are attached to their live playstyle of snowballing and looking for smaller skirmishes to succeed. We don't want to remove this pattern of play from them, but we are looking to exchange some power here to let them access a longer range on their attacks and abilities, which is pretty cool. As a jungler, Kindred needs to be a threat in the early game, or they will obviously fall or fail to provide a baseline amount of pressure for their team to have a fair shot at winning, right? Naturally, junglers need to have at least somewhat of an early game pressure, which is why people like Nocturne aren't very strong, I guess, at the moment. With this in mind, we are aiming to keep their early game power relatively similar or slightly stronger in exchange for a weaker mid game but a stronger late game. So how are they doing this? That's the question. First change: Q, Dance of Arrows. No longer gains base damage per stack of the mark of Kindred. So here I have the wiki. You guys can just, we can compare them very quickly. As you can see here, the base damage on Q at the moment is this, plus 20% AD, the scaling, plus 5 base damage per mark. No longer that happens, right? No more of that. And instead, every mark will actually give you bonus attack speed, because now this ability grants Kindred up to 30% attack speed for 4 seconds on cast. Much more of a marksman feel. Increased by 5% per stack of Mark of Kindred, right? This is a good example of pretty much buffing the late game, right? This is going to be very, 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 very strong in the late game. Early game, not so much, maybe about the same, honestly. Mid game, probably weaker a little bit, honestly, than the prior one, but late game is going to scale. It's going to scale very hard. AD ratio changed from 0.2 total AD to 0.75 a bonus AD. Another example of buffing the late game, I believe. I'm not entirely sure, actually. But the base vault speed has actually been increased by 500. So essentially, she's just going to be, I'm assuming, like, when you press Q, she kind of like, or they, I guess, kind of flip or whatever. It's faster. W, Wolf's Frenzy. This is pretty cool, actually. So can now send Wolf to a position within 500 units of Lamb before creating the hunting territory. Wolf can go over walls. So it just gives you a bigger range as to where you can put Wolf, which is a pretty cool thing. Wolf now deals magic damage instead of physical damage, which not entirely sure why, actually, because obviously you're going to be building physical damage on Kindred, right? You're dealing physical damage with the auto attacks. You're essentially an AD champion, right? But this is going to do magical damage instead, which is weird, because also the E ability will do magical damage too now, which is a little bit strange. My idea behind this is the fact that it does magical damage instead of physical now. It's supposed to be... it's technically going to be weaker throughout the whole game, in my honest opinion, because you can't really get penetration. Like, if you get Last Whisper, right, that's not going to affect this ability at all, which kind of sucks. But at the same time, it's also not too bad late game, because you can see here, if you continue reading, Wolf now actually deals an additional 1.5% of the target's current health per attack as base damage, increased by 0.5 per stack of Mark of Kindred, right, versus the current one, which flat out just deals flat damage, which is good early game. But this is going to scale, especially against tanks, which are decently popular nowadays. This is going to scale, man. This is going to scale hard. This is going to be really damn useful. But the AD ratio has been decreased. So my idea here is the fact that you have like all this physical threat from like your Q, from your auto attacks and whatnot, especially as you scale, of course, with the attack speed and all that stuff, right? But then you're gonna have a little bit of a threat of magical damage coming in. So you have physical, then you also have this, pretty strong late game ability, especially that will deal a good amount of magical damage. So it'll be pretty hard to itemize against that, which could be a pretty good threat. But the only bad side to this is, of course, buying something like a Last Whisper is not gonna affect your W because it is magical damage. E ability, this is the cool one. I like this one. Damage of this has also been changed to magical. Okay. The base damage has actually been reduced by 40 by rank 5. Okay, I mean, kind of sucky, so a little bit of a nerf to the early, potentially to mid game as well. Missile speed of Wolf's attack, so the third attack, or I believe it's the third attack, where Wolf flies and essentially gnaws on the target, has been increased by 4,000 or 400, so it goes in much faster. So it just happens faster. AD ratio has been increased from 0.2 total to 0.8 bonus, so very similar concept as to here, except slightly better. And then, so this is gonna be a nice buff once you start getting actual AD items. It'll be pretty nice, but nerf to early game, I believe. I think, right? Anyway, percent health damage. Change from 5% maximum HP to 8% missing HP, increased by 0.5 per stack of a Mark of Kindred. Now, I believe currently this ability has no combination or correlation or whatever to Mark of Kindred at the moment, right? It's its own ability. It just deals its own damage. That's it, right? Currently it does 180 plus 20% AD scaling plus 5% of the max HP. Now it'll be 120 rather than 180. The scaling will be bonus AD 0.8. So once they actually get 80 items, it'll be, it'll scale pretty well. And now it's missing HP, 8% missing HP, which will stack per Mark of Kindred, not per like 3 or 4 marks, per single mark. So it's essentially now an execute ability. But if you continue reading, Jaws of Death, kind of a new ability or a new passive, Wolf's attack critically strikes targets below 15% health for 50% more damage. Critical strike chance increases the percent health threshold for this critical strike to occur by 0.5 per 1% crit. So obviously if you build crit chance on Kindred as a typical AD carry, which is their intention here, to make them a typical AD carry that just goes in the jungle, this will increase this percent. So the more crit you get, the higher this percent threshold goes. So the higher or the sooner that this ability will actually deal its 50% bonus damage to targets. So they can be at like maybe 20% of their HP, and then it'll deal its 50% bonus damage, and so on, which is super cool. I think it's amazing. And the reason for that is because, okay, Kindred is supposed to be in the lore. This is kind of boring, but in the lore, Kindred is supposed to be essentially the one that gives them a swift, clean, painless kind of death. If they accept their death, Kindred comes in. So not Kindred, Lamb comes in and gives them like a swift death with her bow, right? On the other hand, if the person has been a bad person throughout their life, or they resist death or whatever, that's when Wolf comes in, and Wolf essentially chases them down and just gnaws them and just gives them a painful death. So this is kind of like, it kind of fits the theme of the champion as well, where Wolf will just when they're low HP, will it'll actually execute them now, which is, I think, super cool. So you have a bunch of consistent actual marksman type damage with the attack speed here. Even you have some damage here with Wolf to kind of bring them down to that specific HP because it's current health. So the more healthy they are, the more damage it'll do. And then once they're finally weakened, once you have these abilities synergized, kind of bringing them down, this is when this one comes in and just executes them. Very cool. Finally, you have the passive Mark of Kindred. No longer grants Lamb a bonus percent current health damage on her basic attacks, as you can see here. Currently, this gives them, boom, to deal 1.25% of her target's current health as bonus on hit physical damage per stack, right? So no longer is that going to happen. But now instead, it amplifies all of Kindred's basic abilities as outlined above, as we talked about, of course. Here, Mark of Kindred, and Mark of Kindred, right? It buffs all the other abilities. But on top of this, every 4 marks increases Kindred's basic attack, Dance of Arrows, the Q, and Mounting a Dreads, which is the E, cast range. So the abilities and the auto attack, you just get longer range, which is, for late game, are you kidding me? That's amazing. That's insanely good for late game. That's by 75 first auto attack. Okay, what's her current auto attack range? 500. Let's compare that to someone like, I don't know. Let's compare that to someone maybe like Lucian Wiki. Let's see what Lucian's auto attack range is. How is that compared to Lucian? He's also 500, so you'll pretty much be longer range than Lucian as the game progresses, right? And then if you go someone like Tristana, actually, yeah, let's go Tristana. Nah, let's go Tristana. Okay. No, Caitlyn. We'll go Caitlyn. Let's do Caitlyn. She does 650. She's 150 above, right? Now, there's a chance that you actually might get pretty close to Caitlyn's auto attack range just from getting your Mark of Kindred stacks, which is really fucking OP. And then, so first for 4 it'll be 75, while every 4 marks after that will increase the ranges by 25. Again, don't forget, auto attacks plus Q and E. Super, super cool. I don't know. I have to say, this is a pretty cool rework. I'm actually really down for this. I think this is fantastic. This is going to make, hopefully, Kindred finally back into the meta and a fun champion to play, because this champion, honestly, is really fun. Really cool to play. Really cool lore. Just a really cool theme. And this will make it even better. And I don't know. I have to say, pretty cool rework. Pretty damn cool. So let me know what you guys think about it down below in the description, or in the comments, rather. And let me know if you think it's a good rework or a good bad rework, if it's a good buff, a bad buff, if it's a nerf. What do you think? Let me know what you think. Either way, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit it with that like button, share with your friends, let everyone else know, and see this Kindred rework upcoming, probably next patch. Not the one coming up tomorrow, the one in 2 weeks. And yeah, I'll see you guys for the next video. Thank you for watching. Peace.